I'd like to welcome everyone back to another podcast of High on Spirit and an introductory video to our upcoming Tai Chi practitioner earth awareness training for the School of Guidance Studies.
That's right. It's going to be a Living Earth farm right up here in central Maine. And we have been preparing for this for quite some time, but super excited to have it coming together to fruition and very excited to share these practices and teachings that can really help transform our lives. And they're a lot of fun too. It's powerful, enjoyable practice. So here we are, getting things started ceremonially.
Some mugwort that was growing right beside our practice circle here. Artemisia vulgaris. Invoking of the dream space and clearing the intentions, opening us up for connection with the earth, the plant world, and
yeah, that's right. We each took turns imbibing the smoke, making an offering, and yeah, as you said, connecting with the nature.
the smoke is a useful tool in feeling the chi lines, feeling the blockages in the chi. As he's moving the smudge around in there, you can see places where the energy was a little bit held, and just by bringing awareness to it with the smoke, it's a tool of activation and moving of that which needs to move. Mugwort's been used for longer than we know in this way of where it's just you burn it over an area and it disperses held traumas, held pain, and opens up the system to movement.
Yes, yep. And that's, man, some of the magic that you bring, brother, is that connection to, the knowledge that not only have you studied for many, many years, but you are able to really connect with the energy and the spirit of the plants and commune with them, develop a relationship, and be able to gain knowledge in that way. That's a very ancient practice and method, and so I definitely appreciate that, and excited to be able to offer that to others, to be able to, give them that experience as well and kind of teach them what you've learned and developed about how to connect in different ways to nature, to Gaia, to the plants.
Yeah, and the Tai Chi is a great tool for awareness of your energy system, because the plants obviously can't speak to us with words, for they have not tongues. But they smile loud and bright, as everyone sees when they see a fresh flower in the springtime.
Oh yeah.
It's, as present to you as when you look at a puppy. Like, everyone smiles back when they see the first tulip in the springtime.
That's true, very true. Yeah, or seeing a baby as well. Yeah, it's that same kind of energy. Vibrancy and aliveness. Yeah, so great point. Also, as we've talked about before, there's a thing with the plants too that can invite openings within the chi lines and the meridians, can really help to feel the energy, because the more energy we can allow in, the more we're going to be able to feel it. And so many of us over time and through the difficulties of life and stress and things, we end up clamping down these energy lines, really kind of short-circuiting us to what's available and what's possible. And connecting with the plants in this way, and and the medicine of the plants, can open us up very naturally and allow that energy to start moving, a little more fluidly. And since we're more in a meditative state now as well, we can tap into that energy a little more easily than, when we're in ordinary awareness, just kind of going through our day, getting tasks done and stuff. So connecting there and being more open this allows us to really feel the flow of energy. And that's really what it's all about. When we start to feel the flow of energy and can learn to develop this practice of directing it with our intention, with our awareness, now we're starting to really gain some of the benefits that this practice has to offer us. And in my experience, that's when it's really starting to get more and more fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So the faster people can get in touch with that energy, like the better, because then it becomes real to you, you know, and you say, oh, we did this, I feel something, oh, something's moving, you know, and then you start to learn to direct it and make a connection to it more deeply. And it's like the deeper we go with this practice, the deeper it gets, you know, there's seeming no end to this. So once you begin it, it becomes a lifelong path. That's like any real skill mastery.
Mm-hmm.
It brings us, you know, directly in touch with the richness of life and that infinity of growth that we can experience. Again, it's just never ending. So that's what I love about it.
For sure. You know, the point when the energy starts to move us, when you don't know which is the dancer and which is the music, when the song of the plants and the song of the chi starts to guide us and walking becomes far more effortless.
Very true. And we find that, you know, we don't just have this practice, you know, here and there, or, you know, maybe develop it as a hobby and things, but we start to integrate it, as you're saying. You know, it becomes part of the way we move. This poised, balanced, graceful, connected, powerful, centered, grounded way of moving, embodied. Did I mention that? So here we're doing the standing Qigong.
Practicing the inner smile and building the iron shirt around us, building our container of our energy field and allowing the places where the system is blocked or held to let go and surrender to the flow.
Mm-hmm. You'll see us doing that here throughout the video as well, and you can really see Josh doing it, especially here in the beginning. I noticed him out of my periphery, that he was, you know, continuously finding his center and finding his lowest point of gravity and restructuring himself, you know, reconnecting with the ground and settling back in. And it's a continuous process. It's a refinement. You know?
Yeah.
So neat to be able to see that, because you can watch in the movements of the hips and things. You can literally see it. And the more you see it when you're practicing, when we practice together, it helps to be able to see it in others. Oh, that's what's going on now. It's like, okay, monkey see, monkey do. Get the mirror neurons going. But this practice opens the joints, allows the chi to start to flow there. It's also a lot about learning over time to let go of the muscles more and more and rely on the structure of the ligaments, the tendons, especially the tendons.
And then eventually the chi.
And then the chi, exactly, yes. So they find that, and we experience this through various yogic practices and Tao Yin and things, meditations, that the meridian lines of the energy body, same ones that we've talked about for thousands of years, traditional Chinese medicine, they run right along in accordance with a lot of the body's musculature, structure, ligaments and tendons and things, and particularly the tendon lines are where we find these large meridians that transfer massive amounts of force.
Mm-hmm.
They can draw in a lot of energy, and there's a feeling of strength, connectivity, and an energy that's not like so much like a weightlifter, let's say, where it's brute force, but it's more like the power of a cat or an animal has that springing kind of power. And that's the full connecting of the structure, being able to. We see this in martial arts, for instance. You see this in acrobats and things, gymnasts and things, when they're bringing this caliber of structure to the physiology to be able to allow it to function at this incredibly high level with seeming effortlessness.
Yeah. I was just watching how as the awareness goes onto the tendons and the eye soft focuses slightly, that there's a shifting back into alpha rhythms, and as like the next level of awareness sinks in there, and my awareness sinks into my chi, and my awareness is located more and right in the middle of my head, where the other part of it that's in the physical world is just aware of my light form. So my breathing's getting slower. And so that visualizing the tendons to me was like this step in, rather than going all the way in to seeing the chi, like seeing the tendons first, like was this kind of coasting to a place of a deeper internal awareness.
Like a pathway into that energy. So that's really important, because the deeper we can get into the connection with the feeling, the felt connection between our inner body and our awareness, our conscious mind, the more we have access to the subtle body, which is where the energy is, which is where the chi is. So you're right, absolutely right. It leads us into that place. And then it's just a small step. It's the same way kind of with the emotions. The emotions, that's energy in and of itself, right? But this energy is a bit more primordial, we could say. It hasn't become a particular form. So in that case, it could become anything. So this pure chi that we're working with, and recycling those negative emotions as well, and turning that into chi, turning that back into this chi that we can then store and use for inner strength, for healing, for consciousness expansion, and all sorts of things. But it's true what you're saying, and I really like that about the iron shirt development, because that shifting of the weight and the shifting of the attention off of the physical body and then through the physical body and onto the chi is this really amazing process to go through. And once we discover it, then more and more we want to develop it, because it makes our movements more effortless, and yet we are stabilized and we have a strong structure. And like you talked about in this meditation, I believe one of the ones that you were leading about the container, developing that container of energy, and then it becomes like this support that we always have.
Yeah. At this part in the video is when there was parts of my body that were, the muscular system was like bringing awareness to different blockages. And there was the reshifting, and then stuff was moving, and then it became light again. Pain would come up, and then it would drift away as the awareness shifted into the chi, and as it came off the muscular system, and just allowing my system to relax deeper into midline, deeper into the structure.
Yeah, and that's just what I was mentioning about too. As soon as you started talking about it, you were doing it there too, in this recalibration right here, refinding your center, extending allowing the heavenly force to pull the crown up and lengthen the spine too. So continuously as we're moving through this practice, it's really neat because we're shifting awareness. It's kind of like a mindfulness practice in that sense. Certain types of mindfulness practices will have you just move awareness from one thing to the next, and just be there for a moment with it wordlessly. And that, in a way, that's kind of what we're doing as we work through the development of this skill set and this practice. Is we're kind of moving awareness to, okay, am I smiling inside? Okay, yes. Okay, I'm smiling inside. Bring that smile to the dantian. Now, where's my weight? Where's my weight centered? Let's feel into that. And this isn't going on in words, but we're just moving our awareness to these different things as we develop the understanding and the theory. And then it becomes about refining it in the feeling of it in the actual practice. And this is where it's really becomes golden, But yeah, there's so many things to pay attention to. We never run out of places to move awareness to. Okay, is the chest sunk? Can I feel the strength and connection in the scapulae, for instance? So there's that power in the spine that's connected to the arms. The arms are, you have a certain twist there. If you want to amplify the chi, more yang, connecting the outer lines here, meridians, or if you want to connect more with the earth, you can dial it back this way, and it connects more of the yin lines in there. Again, so shifting the focus and then ever finding that deeper connection to the center and to balance and to harmonizing those forces within us. And we did a good session here. We're finally coming out of it now. We're going to store the chi at the navel. And generally we usually spiral the chi clockwise 9 times. You can go 9, 18, 36 times, but that's the tradition of the Tao. And then back the other direction 9 times. And you feel that spiraling. You literally feel the spiraling. Especially after doing this practice, your energy has increased and amplified. So now we've brought our awareness through, I think this is when we did the pearl. Yeah, we brought the entire pearl through the microcosmic orbit during that meditation as well. So that gathered a lot of force, a lot of chi. And so we don't want to waste that chi. We don't want to just, generate it and then let it disperse. We want to be able to store it and utilize it for, like I say, whatever purposes we'd like to. Career success, having more energy, more vigor, greater intuition, connection with the divine capacities and things within us. Or just general well-being. Nothing wrong with that, right? It's great to be outside. Finally getting some beautiful weather up here. Now this is where we start to bring in movement into the process. And this sort of sliding back and forth movement that we begin to develop in the very beginning of Tai Chi practice is generated by connecting through the structure to the earth force, feeling that upward and downward pull kind of merge and harmonize. We center ourselves. And we'll be doing all this stuff on the retreat. And we hope for some of this to be a preliminary for you guys who are coming out. You can watch some of these practices and start to get an understanding and even get a little head start for what's to come. But this process right here helps us stay connected to the earth force as we move. So as we generate movement and begin to make this from just a static energy pose to a fluid movement, dynamic form, we want to keep our ground in connection. So there we go. So stay balanced and be able to move from one leg to the next without losing our connection to the earth. So this is very important, and it's done by a combination of balancing of the upward and downward forces and keeping that tailbone tucked, transferring the force of the earth through the perineum from one leg to the next as we make that shift. So we work on developing this process, as we were doing out here. through this Tai Chi walking exercise. When I discovered this one, I was like, man, this is great. I will never be bored in line again. Many benefits to this, right? Because instead of just waiting, thinking, oh, geez, I got to be somewhere or whatever, like, how long is this person going to take? None of that's going on. We could just be smiling inside because it's going to take however long it takes. And we can be just practicing this connection to the ground, to the earth, to our structure. And just enjoying. So the principle of this Tai Chi walking is really just allowing that hip to swing the foot forward like a pendulum and then connect to the ground on the heel. And we roll that foot down through all the 9 points, which we'll discuss further on the retreat, of course. But as we shift that weight forward, as I was saying, we transfer the force through the perineum. Then you want to allow the pulling force, like you're having a tug of war basically, to draw you back. Sink back, they call this, or roll back. And then from there, we'd be able to turn from the center, from the Dantian, our power center. Turn and open the structure so we can step through and continue the step. What do you like about this one?
I like the holding of the moving from the core. Having the center ball of chi in the middle of your body being the force that is directing the movement.
And we see that here, sink back, and then the hips turn. The Dantian turns, really. The energy center, as you were saying, that turns, and then leg pivots outward, and we step straight through right to the heel. And you see kind of where I was holding my hands there is where the gravity center.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great piece of it. Yeah, and that starts to develop that awareness too. So when we move through the different form, the different movements within the Tai Chi form, we have that awareness of the Dantian beginning the movements, leading the structure. You know, it's the energy that leads the structure.
I've always done all my different Tai Chi walkings with the step like 25% less. I'm seeing the value in this, and I'm also seeing the value in the other way as well. Like they call it the fox walk. Crazy Horse said in 10 steps he could walk into the earth. And that it's very similar to Tai Chi walking, but it's the opposite, where it's like how the fox steps. He puts the front of his paw down on the inside of the foot, and it rolls out and back to the heel. It's a similar roll that's going on, and a connection to the earth that's spiraling up through the feet and placing it down. But there's this thing with the toes touching first, and it's like, oh, it can like bounce back, like back into the Lu force very quickly. If it's like, oh, you go forward, that's not the right one. It's like gives this control over the environment where you're always ready for what's coming.
Yeah, I can see that. So yeah, just different styles.
Yeah.
And so in the Wu style, for instance, there's a lot of this leaning, and there's the low crouching. You guys have probably seen, like that crouching tiger, hidden dragon way down here and the leg way out. But none of that in this particular style is actually developed for a number of reasons to be very compact and to be able to be practiced by pretty much anybody if you're in generally good health, from very young to very old, without doing a lot of tension on some of the joints and things that the Wu style would, perhaps cause, and stressing the knees and things we don't need, especially as we get older. So those really elaborate, forms, you can learn those if you really want to, but this has all the movements of the Tai Chi form that are necessary to get all of the fundamentals. It's the minimum number of movements. There's 13 in this form, but it will give all the fundamentals that we need to develop Tai Chi to a high level. And we can learn it fast, which is good, because the faster you learn it, then the faster you can refine it. We don't want to spend 3, 6, 10 years learning 108 form, unless that's really something you want to learn. But that takes a long time, and you want to develop the Qi as fast as possible. Learn the simple form, and then you can refine that and develop the connection to the Qi. Then whatever you want to do, because it becomes alive. It becomes a part of the way you move. It starts by entering this Wu Qi stance. And just the basics of the movement. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about the inner structure, but you'll see we're stepping out. We're going to raise the Qi up, preparing for this push. You can't see it, but there's a whole lot going on dynamically in the lower back, as well as the feet, to generate that power. And this is all coordinated with the breath as well. All these movements coordinate with the breath. And we're just gathering the Qi. Roll that Qi ball up and forward, then we release. These movements really generate a lot of Qi, too. It's so invigorating, vivifying, really enjoyable, and you feel so graceful and just, empowered and connected, and it really does connect us with the energy of everything around us. So it's beautiful to practice here in the nature like this, especially if you can. That's, one of the reasons why it's practiced in parks all throughout China and the world. It doesn't matter what it is, whether you're sitting in a chair, standing on a stage, or if you're sitting down driving all day for hours, or if you're doing something very athletic and dynamic. Even if you're doing something that's just rote over and over again, you're doing some physical labor, let's say. Like, I was talking about this yesterday, we were discussing this, and mentioned about the carrying of wood inside the house, and first you're just grabbing it, throwing it in this, now you're grabbing it up and realizing, wait, what am I doing with my body? I don't need to do this. I can actually just use proper form and use the correct structure of the body, and have that structure and the alignment of the forces do the heavy lifting for me.
Yeah, and with the awareness put on the Qi, that's doing part of the work, and eventually sometimes all of it.
Yeah, eventually sometimes all of it. We learn to do these manipulations, and subtle movements, and directing the Qi with our minds. And as it grows in power, what can be accomplished with the Qi becomes greater than what can be accomplished with muscles alone, far greater. And it doesn't cause stress to the system. It'll actually enliven you, and it can make these mundane tasks very, very enjoyable. It's like a meditation.
Yeah.
When we bring this level of awareness to it.
And when we say mind, it is a heart mind that is located everywhere in the system. So it's bringing mind to wherever it needs to be located, whether it's the tendons or the energy structure. It is a part of the practice, is a learning to shift the location of the mind out of the frontal cortex of the head.
Very, very important. Yes, in the Tao they call this the E, right? Y-I, the E, meaning the mind-eye-heart connection. Mm-hmm. And then, for instance, in Tibetan Buddhism, they talk about effortless mindfulness practice, which is a way of just what you said, learning to move our center of awareness. For instance, it's normally, for most of us, it's centered up here. Sometimes we have these great experiences and we feel the heart open, and we may actually drop our center down to the heart, and most of us, well, a lot of us may not realize that it's happened. We just had a great experience. But if we pay close attention and we learn to develop this as a practice through meditation and things, and through this Qigong and Tai Chi practice, this shift can happen where we recenter our identity. How we take ourselves to be and feel about ourselves, instead of being this mind-made construct with all the different problems and challenges and history and everything, we move into this total state of presence where this loving, open-hearted awareness that's whole, it's not divided, can begin to run the show. And this is like next level Zen, Jedi, Buddha. Real beauty is possible here. And I know myself, I just feel like I've scratched the surface, even though I've been at it for a while now. But again, the deeper we go, the deeper it really gets. There just seems to be no end to the wonder that we can discover inside.
Yeah, just the contemplation of what does it feel like? What's the felt presence? Shifts the place of awareness, shifts the conversation of who is asking and what it's asking about. And it's not a conversation about it, it's a felt presence.
It just happened. This might be the one. This is.
And it seemed like we were probably out there for at least an hour.
Oh yeah, probably a little longer.
Yeah.
So here I think we're about to put together some sequencing of movements, sequence of the form, so that we can just kind of dial that in.
Mm-hmm.
We decided on was the movements of rolling the ball initially, and then it's press, push. From press to push. Oh, this was our first take, though. We actually went through a few of the movements. The first form, yes, there we are. Nice. Flow, you can see the flow, but the connection also. There's a connection in these movements. And that's where that tendon connection is really coming in. So if we don't have that, it's just kind of like a flowy movement. You can see flowy, it might look pretty, but there's not going to be the power being generated. Preliminary movements here, leading into it. Transferring that force. We learn to keep the connection between various parts of the body, especially the arms and the hips, the torso. They all kind of move together. The whole body moves as a structure, a single unit. Whereas most of the time, most people aren't walking as a single unit. They're kind of a little bit disjointed. They, have this sort of controlled fall going on, and maybe it's not as controlled. They're just catching themselves from falling, but they're off balance. They lose their balance in between steps. Whereas we maintain the center, the connection to our center, even though we're shifting the weight forward and backward from one leg to the next. And we're just repeating this short movement to really dial in the motions. Kind of like practicing a lick on an instrument, and sometimes you don't want to try to learn the whole piece all at once. You just kind of break down 4 or 5 notes play them back and forth till you really get them down. And then we add piece by piece.
Yeah, it's really about isolation and refinement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, refinement in the moves, in the movements, and also in our awareness and our connection to the chi. So our awareness becomes more refined. There becomes a lot less going on up here.
Mm-hmm.
Things settle down. Flow here. It's really beautiful when we get everyone together practicing and everyone's got the basics of the form down and you can kind of forget. It's kind of like, when you're out there doing a line dance, you're out there doing the hokey pokey and, you haven't done it in 10 years and the first few steps are kind of rusty and then it starts coming back and before you know it, you're having fun. And it looks really cool, and it's building a lot of chi, a lot of energy, doing us some amazing good on many, many levels. And again, building this practice which will become lifelong and transformative. There's one more short video. I think this is the majority of what's happening here is we're continuing this motion, refining it further and further. Talking about the ball, the energy ball here, we scoop it up, make that connection, and talking about how we transfer that force through the body.
To tuck in the spine, allowing the energy to roll up and propel the movement rather than the muscles propelling the movement, allowing the chi to make the system move in accordance with it. Who is the mover? Is it the one dancing or is it the movement that is dancing through it?
Yes. And the movement becomes like a wave, like you say, up the spine, like a wave, and then crashing on the shore as we release it with that push or press. So here you can see, even just practicing it for a few minutes, we're all really settling in, getting a lot more fluid, a lot more dynamic with the movement, a lot more synchronized. And refining it a little bit more, little subtle connections, seeing how the torso remains connected there to the arm, and vice versa.
The wrist and the torso having a fractal, so when the dantian is moving, the wrist is moving with it. Like the
yes.
thumb and the wrist, this is a fractal of the spine. And
So
fractal
the
of the
sink
midline.
back when it turns here and you feel it roll in the dantian as well.
This is like a midline where it's like spinning on that.
That's a fantastic point, man. Good on you for bringing that back up. And that's into the really, really deep energy work. When you guys can start to feel into the center of the dantian, which we're going to be all spending a good bit of time on. Just like you said, that's such a great point. There's a connection right here, center line, just like a galaxy spinning on an axis, or a planet spinning on an axis. And as this turns, we got this whole, you feel that turning.
Yeah. It allows the reflux, like how when you tuck your tailbone under a little bit, there's more awareness that's brought to the core dantian in response. Like it just happens. As the engagement happens, then the awareness shifts into holding more energy there in the central core.
Yeah, and one of the ways we prepared through that, as we mentioned, with the warm-up of the inner smile and opening the microcosmic orbit, which is the main channel of the body, running from the perineum to the crown, back down the front line. So we have two channels really connecting, making a circuit. Very, very large channel there. I don't want to say it's the largest because then, we have the central channel when it fully opens up, the belt channel, central channel, and the microcosmic orbit all become one channel. And obviously that's something different entirely. But that's what we get into at the higher levels, like the Kan and Li meditations.
Mm-hmm.
But the principle of centrality is very important, and we'll definitely be going over that. So we learn to, we move the energy up the spine, but we also move the energy around the central axis. So we can divert energy with paris and redirects, and maintain our ground and our balance, even in the face of a great threat, an attack. Somebody who's attacking with intent and with very, very minimal effort, their energy can be redirected. And you see, we're doing it right there, that turn that we do. You guys can notice there as we turn, there's a central axis that the body's turning on. And so you can picture a force coming into a upright cylinder, and as it presses against that cylinder, the cylinder turns and all the energy is redirected.
It was really cool. There was a part in right around here where Josh, he locked in to his structure being more in congruency with the meridian lines, and you can really feel it right here when he has his iron shield get something clicks together when he pushes forward in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's whoa, you can there's a
totally
field right around him.
Yeah, it's
all
right there. You see his whole structure now moving as one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really
right there.
That was really awesome. Yeah, he locked in right there.
Yeah.
And that's one of the great benefits of having hands-on reflection, because while we should definitely all spend time practicing in front of a mirror, or you could record yourself like this and then play it back as well. Very helpful, but there are certain things about the structure that we have to make sure we aren't missing, because we can think, oh, I got it. We can think we're doing it, and we can actually just be ingraining in a very, very bad habit if we're not aware of it. It's, then we have to spend extra time correcting that. For instance, even while we're watching this, I'm carefully inspecting my own structure for anything like, okay, is my crown tucked or pulled back enough? Yeah, okay, that's good. All right, making sure I'm not leaning in any way and things. But again, the more we do it, the more we feel it, and when you feel it, then you really just know. But prior to that, we want to make sure that we're at least close, and you can get pretty close by looking at it and examining it and making these corrections.
He who feels it knows it.
Yes. Getting the circular motion. Really, you can really see the spring of force there.
Yeah.
Just talking about the different energy lines, which ones are engaging, and you'll be able to feel it. Even, whether you're super energy sensitive or not, you can still feel these, because certain parts of the body will, you'll feel, oh, that's tension there. And then if you focus in on it, what is that tension really? Is that an engaged tension, or is that squeezing and holding on tension? Mm-hmm. And if it's engaged kind of tension, it's not really tension so much as it is integrity. Mm-hmm. Integrity and connection. So that's what we need to have in order to transfer the force.
And add a slight amount of tensegrity.
So I guess we should invite people out. We have slots available. It's going to be the 23rd of June through the 26th of June, 2022. Coming up in just a month and some change, month and a half, less than 2 months right now as of this recording. So we're going to definitely put links in the description if you guys want to sign up, find out more, ask any questions. By all means, you can do that below as a comment. In any case, we love to engage with you guys. So any of this topic that you'd like to explore further, by all means. A little bit about the retreat itself. It's going to be those 4 days fully immersive. We're going to be starting from around 10 a.m. in the morning, going till 5-ish at night, and there'll be breaks in between. We'll have meal times, and it's an all-inclusive experience. There will be camping for your stay, and all the amenities that are needed will be available.
Evening ceremonies with music and singing bowls and gongs.
Yes, we have sound bath. We have Reiki healer coming. Energy worker Sage Palmetto is going to be here. We have some other Qigong practitioners. They're going to be helping with doing some of the healing work. And
heirloom chocolate from our friend's farm in Peru.
And this stuff is amazing, guys. If you've seen our episode with Mateo, then you already know. But this is from that same source.
Some of this, I picked the seeds right off a wild chocolate plant and stuck them right in the ground, and now it's a big orchard of chocolate.
Unbelievable. So yeah, that's going to be available. There will be optional sweat lodge ceremony one evening. We're going to have ecstatic dance. It's going to be an incredible, incredible experience, adventure, journey.
Yeah,
and
we're going to explore the integration in between Tai Chi and the energy of nature.
Beautiful, man. I'm looking forward to it. Super excited. Hope to see a few of you guys over. So yeah, reach out. And until then, we will see you guys on another upcoming video. Stay tuned. As always, we are high on spirit.